Hey everyone, it's Anthony from Pretty Printed here. In today's video, I'll be going over a feature that is new to Flask 1.0, which was just released yesterday at the time of recording this video. So this new feature is the integration with Python Dotenv. And Python Dotenv is a tool that allows you to create an environment file, so a .env file, and this will have keys and values for your eventual environment variables. And then you can load these into whatever app you're working on or whatever script you're working on. So Flask has a somewhat close integration with this now, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to use it. So the first thing I need to do is actually install flask.env or python.env. So it's pip-env install python-.env, just like that. And it's going to install. It should be pretty quick to install. And then once it's done installing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two files. So there's one file that is more general, so .env, and then there's one that is more specific to your Flask app, .flask env, just like that. And by convention, right now, the difference between the two is Flask env is for public configuration variables. So a good example and one that I'm going to use in this video is the Flask app. So it's basically pointing to the module that holds your Flask app. And then .env, so .env is for something that is more private. So an example would be your secret key or the URI to your database. So ideally you would commit Flask env to your repository, your public repository, your private repository, whatever you use to store your files, and then .env would be ignored, but it will still be around somewhere, obviously, because you'll need to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file for my app, and I'm going to call this app file run. And then I'll quickly make this a very simple Flask app. So from Flask, import Flask app, it's Flask name, and then I'll just have a simple route that returns hello because the route isn't the focus of this video. So return hello. Okay, so I have this run.py file, and what I want to do is I want to set up the Flask app to point to this. So normally you would do something like this: export Flask app equals run.py. And you would have to do this every time you restart your terminal. But with these .env files now, we don't have to do that. I can just open up the Flask env one and then just set it here. So Flask app equals run.py, just like that. And now when I use Flask run, Flask is automatically going to load the environment variables in here. And if it finds one that is relevant to Flask, like Flask app, it's going to apply it immediately. And all the rest will be available in your app to use. So first I'll show you this one. So if I do Flask run, it tells me that my app is running. And if I click here, I see hello. So you see my app is running, and I'll show you that it's actually using this value by going to .env, or I should say .flask env, and changing this to run2. And then when I do Flask run again, it can't import run2 because it doesn't exist. So we now know that it's actually pulling from this file that I created, this env file. So I'll change this back to run. And now if I want to set the Flask environment, so by default it's production. If I set this to be development, this is going to enable my debug mode whenever I use Flask run. So now we see debug mode is on, and the stat is active, so it will refresh the app every time I save the file. So those are familiar. Now what I want to do is I want to put a value that's supposed to be a little more private. So let's say the secret key. So I'll go to .env, so the one that is private. And then what I'll do is I'll put a secret key in here. This is a secret. And then what I can do is I can open up my Flask file or my module that has my app, and I can use the configuration value that I just set. So secret key is going to be equal to os.getEnv secret key. And of course I have to import os But this allows me to get that secret key out of the file. So now when I run, it's not going to do anything here because I'm not using the secret key for anything. But now that I'm running the app, the secret key is loaded in there. And if I had something like sessions that I was using, then the secret key would be used from that file. So just a quick overview of this. Like I said, if you're using something that's supposed to be public, you can use Flask env, so .flask env. And if you're using something that's supposed to be private, you can put it in the env file or the .env file, however you want to pronounce it. So that's all I want to cover in this video. Just a cool new feature for Flask 1.0. Try it in your project, see how it goes along, and see if it's a little better for you than, for instance, the instance folders for configuration or any other way of configuration that you've been using, because it's a new feature and maybe it will work better in your project or maybe not. So let me know how it goes in your project. If you have any questions about this, you can leave a comment down below. If you like this video, could you please give me a thumbs up? And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please subscribe. So thank you for watching this video, and I will talk to you next time.